Hello everyone! Happy Monday! Hi Aya!
Hi Jules! Hi everyone! Welcome to daldalang walang curfew!
Usapang di nala-lockdown, ito po ang
QuaranTalk!
Quarantalk! Hello! Welcome to our 50th show! Aya, umabot tayo sa 50th show. Ito yung golden show natin.
Soon. At sakto, marami tayong kasama tonight. And congratulations also to us, Jules. This is for everyone's information sa mga bago lang po naka-encounter ng QuaranTalk. We started this around April because parang kaming bored ni Jules. It's our way
Ganun
of
board lang minsan, di ba?
coping with anxiety, hindi kami makatulog nung mga early days ng quarantine natin, start ng March 16. So, we want to address some of the public's concerns amid this pandemic. So, tonight, in celebration naman of the International Youth Day on August 12, we're having a week-long special focusing on the stories of young people here in the Philippines. And actually, sometime this week, we're also gonna have some young people from other countries as well to give us some perspectives also. Jules, what's in store for today?
Right. So today, syempre, we'll kick off the Linggo ng Kabataan kasi as per law din, di ba? Every August this week, pinagdiriwang natin yan para syempre, i-celebrate lahat ng mga efforts sa mga kabataan. But for today, we will zero in on the SDGs or yung Sustainable Development Goals. Meron tayong mga in-invite ng mga leading organizations na SDGs ang ini-advocate. But before that, of course, let's first talk about the latest news for today. Alright. So for tonight, medyo na late ang ating DOH sa paglabas ng kanilang figures dahil daw nagkaroon ng problema sa system nila. But we recorded the highest ever additional COVID cases for a single day. So our total cases for active cases is at 66,186. Total cases at 136,638. Death toll natin at 2,293. And total recoveries at 68,159.
And Jules, today, tama ka, no, 6,958 cases ang nadadagdag dyan. Confirmed cases ang nadagdag dyan. Sa death toll po, 24 deaths were added and 633 recoveries were also added to the tally. That's a lot, 6,958. Jules, do we have news as to why it is the numbers this big, or is
Well,
it?
wala pang backstory about that. But merong statement na nilabas ang DOH kanina na they are currently doing an investigation kung ano nangyari. But meron pang itong 6,000 plus na cases for a single day came
Mhm.
from only 74 labs out of 99 labs. So, ibig sabihin, madadagdagan pa yan just for today. That is sad and alarming.
Yes. So babantayan natin yan. For sure, throughout the week, we can discuss what happened with this data. And again, if you're following Edson of ABS-CBN News on
Right.
Twitter,
Mhm.
you can check his tweets. He explains there the data of this COVID-19 tally in the Philippines, where he discusses what the rate of confirmed cases versus as opposed to the implications of more testing. Sabi nila, mas mataas ang numbers natin dahil mas mataas ang number ng confirmed cases ng Pilipinas dahil sa mas mataas ang testing natin. But
Mhm.
kailangan rin nating tingnan kung gaano karami ba ang nagpa-positive dun sa lahat ng natetest. And also as a proportion of the population. So may
True.
mga ganong aspeto din yan. Pero abangan muna natin kung anong story nitong 6,000 cases today. We'll try to give it to you later if we find it before the end of the show. Yeah, Jules, let's proceed.
Right. For the next latest news for today, another typhoon, Ferdy ang kanyang tawag. Anong details natin dito?
Yeah, so it's now outside the Philippine area of responsibility. It now has an international name, Mekala. That's according to the Weather Bureau Pag-asa's forecast earlier this afternoon. But there's a southwest monsoon affecting Luzon, so may habagat pa rin po dyan. So asahan pa rin po ang pag-ulan sa northern part of the country, Ilocos region, Zambales, and Bataan. There's also another tropical depression that Pag-asa is monitoring sa kanan ng Pilipinas, east. Pero hindi pa naman po makaka-apekto yan sa Philippines. So yun. But ang forecast po for Metro Manila Wednesday to Friday, mainit daw ang ating panahon.
Mhm.
Weather girl.
Green tea na lang kulang sa'yo eh.
For more information, visit po the Facebook page, DOST_Pag-asa. There. So again, wala na si Ferdy sa Pilipinas. Ayan. Jules.
Okay, so from the latest news, of course, in every show, we try to feature something trending for the week or for the day. So, panoorin natin yan dito lamang sa QuaranTRENDS. Okay, ano pa nga ba ang pinaka-trending lalo na sa mga kabataan ngayon? Walang iba kundi ang celebration ng International Youth Day on Wednesday and of course, the kick-off of Linggo ng Kabataan. Eya, ano bang mga detalye natin kung bakit trending every year itong Linggo ng Kabataan at IYD?
Right. Okay. So the International Youth Day was recommended by the United Nations General Assembly 1999 to celebrate this International Youth Day every August 12th. Well, the theme this year is youth engagement for global action. Bakit? Dahil we want to highlight the need to engage young people in national policy making, institutional reforms, and other dialogues. Kailangan kasama at represent ang kabataan. So with that, kasama na rin dyan yung response sa COVID-19 pandemic and climate change. So again, just to read from the United Nations web page, the International Youth Day this year aims to shed light to the need to enable the engagement of youth by making local, national, and global institutions more inclusive for the purpose of strengthening the capacity of the youth to achieve global action. There, Jules, in the Philippines, I know that the national of the NYC is holding something.
Hesitation. Yes, okay. So, we'll be celebrating the NYC, the National Youth Commission will be leading an online, a webinar on Wednesday. And several hundreds of organizations are planning to conduct their own IYD celebrations on Wednesday, actually for the whole week. So, abangan nyo na lang kung anong mga gusto nyong puntahan kasi whole day yan, whole week yan, marami silang mga activities. Siguro plug ko na rin yung NYC yung 1 to 4 p.m. I think. And YCL din meron by 3 to 5 p.m. So I'll be hosting their programs for that day. Okay. All right. So that ends for our trending. Yes, Aya.
Busy ka sa Wednesday, meron kang 1 to 4 to host, and then you have what time mo, Silly? 3 to 5. 1 to 4, saka 3 to 5 ang hosting. Ang galing. Tapos
meron tayong ilo-launch na program na bago ng 7 p.m. with Now You Know and QuaranTalk Media. So abangan niyo po yan. Hindi pa namin pwede sabihin yung title. By the way, we are looking for a host from the Gen Z. Kung meron kayong kilala na Gen Z influencer or youth leader, ilo-launch namin yan sa Wednesday. Okay, so now, Aya, we now proceed to the meat of this program. Siyempre, okay, si Aya babalik siya mamaya-maya lamang. Okay, and that's, of course, we talk about that. Ba't mo ako iniwan, Aya? Gino-ghost mo ako, ah.
Sanay ka naman yata dyan. Joke lang. Alright.
Okay, let's proceed to our main topic for tonight. Dito lamang yan sa Quarantine. Okay, Aya, ano ba ang pinaka-topic natin sa Quarantine tonight?
Alright, so again, as we want to highlight the stories of young people, especially here in the Philippines, now we'll start here. We also want to showcase the relevance of young people in this pandemic using the lens of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Jules, Guiang, this is a recitation. What is the SDGs?
Well, simply, the SDGs is a set of global goals agreed upon by all nations that are members of the United Nations. So basically, in simple terms, pangarap natin to ng lahat ng mga bansa na by 2030, lahat ng mga nakikita nyong colorful icons ay ma-achieve natin by 2030. Incidentally, 2020 is the decade of action. It's the launch of the decade of action. Pero sad lang na sumabay dito si COVID-19. But you know, Aya, I think it's also a challenge for all SDG advocates kung paano natin ma-overcome itong challenge na to, itong hurdle na to. And despite that, hindi pa rin tayo magfa-falter para syempre ma-achieve natin itong SDGs by 2030. But of course, to talk more about this, kasi meron tayong mga kinumbidahan nga ng mga representatives from several organizations, youth organizations, na talagang since 2016, 2017, talagang lapat na sila sa Sustainable Development Goals. Ipakilala na natin sila.
Yes, it's an exciting panel. To start off, let's call in the co-founder of the 2030 project, Sam Sedora.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Aya and Jules. Thank you for inviting me. And of course, the 2030.
Okay, and we have with us also the country director for business development for public relations of AIESEC Philippines. We have Jika Tarok.
Hi. Thank you for having me also.
Great. All right. So next we have the Fellowship Program Officer of the Asia Pacific Youth Exchange or APYE Manila, JJ Punzalan. JJ.
Hey, JJ.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Great. All right. And then we have the Partnerships and Resource Mobilization Associate of the SDSN Youth. We have Rihanna Bengzon.
Rihanna.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thanks for having us.
Our pleasure.
And then lastly, we have the National Director for Education and Research of the 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines. We have Brex Arevalo. Brex?
Hey, Brex.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Hi, Brex.
Okay.
Alright, we're complete. Ang dami natin.
Happy. Okay, so sobrang dream natin to no, na mag-reunion tayo ng mga SDG advocates. Unfortunately, online lang natin siya magagawa. Pero ito na, at last nagawa na natin siya. Okay, so before we dig into the SDGs muna, syempre bilang mga kabataan, gusto muna namin kayo kamustahin, di ba? Kamusta kayo ever since nagsimula itong quarantine natin, yung mga lockdowns natin since March? Simulan natin kay Sam. Sam, kamusta ka?
Ayan, sige. Parang gusto ko muna kayo kamustahin, Jules and Aya. But thank you for asking us. Definitely, we're very excited to answer that. But for me, this quarantine, when quarantine started, it has been one of the most challenging and nurturing moments for me. So, hindi ko in-expect na it's gonna be really a learning journey all throughout, especially if you're managing a national organization and at the same time you're working for a community development org or like an NGO. So entirely I've been really focused on work. I'm working as a programs development officer under Go Negosyo, if you know that. And then we're working on the mass testing or the massive COVID testing project, which is Project ARC. And at the same time, we actually are doing an online show then for the 2030 project na tapos naman na last week. So, medyo nabawasan na ako ng busyness. But yeah, it's been a challenging and nurturing moment and situation for me.
Okay, thank you so much, Sam. Jika, no? Tama, Jika.
Yes po. Okay, hello. How have I been? Actually, it's been as what Sam mentioned, it's really been a challenging time, especially for our organization. Kasi, AIESEC has been known for delivering exchange experiences, and clearly, hindi talaga siya magagawa given the travel restrictions. So, there has been, a challenge on our part to really reimagine how we deliver leadership impact or leadership development. So, ayun, it's been an exciting time as well. I want to believe that COVID was a catalyst for change for the way we deliver leadership. So, ayun, I want to believe I'm in the best place to lead this organization with my team. So, ayun, that's how I've been doing so far.
Yay. Thank you, Jika. JJ from APYE.
Hi, good evening po. So, how have I been since March? Well, I really had a hard time coping up kasi I'm a very extroverted person. So after work, I really meet with my friends, have fun, ganyan. But since the quarantine started, suddenly bigla na lang nasa bahay. But this opened more time for me to spend with my family. So dati uwi-uwi lang ako. Ngayon, I can cook dinner for them from time to time. And as you can see, may bago akong friend sa likod ko. I have a sewing machine because recently I have developed this new skill of sewing. So,
Nice.
naging ganun na akong level. And ayun, so I believe naman na I could use it for a future venture. So at least may hobby ako na nagiging productive din ako.
Galing. May mga new hobbies talaga tayong skills na natutunan ngayon. Di ba yung iba yung mga sikat ngayon, yung mga plantitos and plantitas? Yung iba ba sa inyo may mga plants na rin? Okay. Si ano naman, si Rihanna from SDSN Youth.
Hi, everybody, and thanks again, Jules and Aya, for having us. Personally, like JJ, I had a bit of trouble transitioning to the whole quarantine mentality kasi I'm very extroverted. Relate ako sa'yo, JJ, na parang panay labas, like hanging out with friends, especially after work. So it was a bit of an adjustment for me talaga. But at the same time, it's been nice to just kind of slow down and try to take things day by day since that's really what this quarantine has allowed us to do and given us a lot of time to do, of course, given everything. And then in terms of SDSN Youth, it's been a bit of a challenge for us to transition all of our initiatives to be online kasi sanay kami sa grassroots, community level kinds of projects. So we really had a sort of watership moment of transitioning to that during this quarantine. Of course, we want to keep everybody safe. So it's been a bit of a challenge, but definitely we've been able to overcome it with just, a lot of resourcefulness and critical thinking. So yeah, it's been good naman so far.
Thanks, Rihanna. Brex from Youth Force, Philippine.
Hello, Jules. Hello, Aya. Hello, everyone else who's here. So, how do I describe what my life has been like since March? Well, it's been very busy. That's one thing. But on the other hand, like everyone else over here, it's also been some time to think, to reflect, learn some new skills. As a lifelong martial artist myself, it's during this quarantine period that I've been really able to practice my Muay Thai. So whereas before, a lot of my time would be spent traveling, going from one place to another, now that I'm grounded, there's more time to just do some kicking. So that's been really fun for me. And also in terms of Youth Force, well, there's things that we haven't been able to do, but there are also other things that we have been able to do, which, we could explore later. So thanks again for having me here.
Right. Great. Thanks everyone. And I'm glad to hear that, even in the trying times we've seen some ray of sunshine for you. Ang ganda na sinabi ni Sam kanina, challenging yet it's nurturing, and some of you were able to nurture skills, like practice critical thinking to steer the organization forward in this time. But maybe before we deep dive into the efforts and to how we've been dealing with the pandemic, let's have an overview of what you guys are working on in your respective organizations. Maybe you can introduce this briefly to our viewers. What are the specific areas of focus that you have, considering 17 yung SDGs? Let's start again with Sam.
Okay. So for us, the 2030 Project, we're a premier nonprofit, then youth-led sustainable initiative organization here in the Philippines. So entirely, we really raise awareness about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. But then what we're really focused on is bridging the gap between developed and yung mga aspiring youth leaders. The reason why we're doing that is because we want to create a network of mentorship and collaboration between the two. So para dun sa mga aspiring, they can learn firsthand from the mentors, or let's say the youth champions, we call them youth champions, and somehow make a community of collaboration to achieve the 17 SDGs and its goal. So yun. And specifically, hopefully, we're doing a lot of programs in SDG awareness, leadership enhancement, community building, and of course, promotion of the sustainable initiatives here in the Philippines. So yun. That's for us.
Thank you. Let's go to Gika for AIESEC.
All right. So as I mentioned earlier, clearly we can't send people abroad. We also can't host people who come here for exchange experiences. So we've been reimagining the way we deliver or like develop leadership. So we're focusing more on how to engage the youth with the SDGs also. So actually, kaka-start lang ng term namin. So we started August 1. So it's technically my second week on the job. And actually, we just released our applications for the National Innovation Project. So we have training for youth, which is basically making the youth more ready for the workplace. Another project that we want to have is training for organizations because we want to develop more leaders. And then as for ano ba? Engaging more people or informing them about the sustainable development goals. Ayun, nabulol pala ako. Okay, so we're actually bringing back our Youth Speak Forum. And it's pretty exciting because we still have a lot of projects then. We also have podcasts as well. And then the last project I also wanted to mention is we're bringing cross-cultural virtual spaces. So I hope people who are watching this actually stay tuned for that. So yeah, that's what we're developing so far. I can't spoil much because it's gonna be an exciting year for us. So ayun, that's what's happening for AIESEC in the Philippines.
We get that. Sige, later, let's plug all your programs also. Let's now go to JJ. JJ.
Ayan, so APYE, so explain ko si APYE. APYE is a capacity building program that empowers the youth to drive the SDGs into action through experiential learning. So it means that in our program, we have four components. So we have the leadership development training, and here we teach our delegates about the SDGs, what they are, and we also teach them about project proposal making or crafting. And then next, we have the local immersion sites, the local immersion where we bring our delegates to our local immersion partners and communities, and then dun makikita nila on how they could actually use the SDGs in real life challenges and experiences. And then we have the Asia Pacific Youth Symposiums where our delegates could present the different projects they have created to stakeholders and different partners. We also have our fellowship program. This is our alumni relations. So here we gather our delegates, our empowered champions or graduates, and then we connect with them from time to time. So mostly we focus on SDGs 4.7, of course, the education of the SDGs, as well as SDG 17, because here the youth are partners, so partnerships for goals. And of course, we can't have the local immersion right now because COVID is here, but we have thankfully been thinking with our graduates different initiatives to come up so that we could continually keep APY alive in its spirit.
All right. Thank you, JJ. Let's go to the SDSN youth. Rihanna.
Okay, so for us from the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network Youth, it's very long. So SDSN Youth is how we commonly refer ourselves. We are a global initiative started by the Office of the UN Secretary General way back in 2015, along, of course, with the launch of the SDGs and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And really, it was started because the UN wanted an avenue for young people to take part in the sustainable development process, not just as mere beneficiaries or recipients of the benefits of sustainable development, but to be a part of it and to be key drivers and stakeholders in that process of achieving the agenda of the 2030 agenda. So basically, the organization aims, first of all, to educate young people about the SDGs, so what they are, what the different targets and indicators are per SDG, etc., as well as to create different pathways for achieving them. So, of course, all of this starts with the awareness of what sustainable development is and how you can actually get to those different goals that were mentioned earlier. And then our second objective is really to connect young people across the world to collaborate and exchange ideas, because we do operate as a global network that is operating in around 25 national or regional teams all over the world, with our headquarters in New York, as most of the UN bodies are. So it's very important to us to have cross-cultural exchange, because we can only come up with the best ideas if we interact with people from different backgrounds as well. And finally, SDSN also aims to really support young people's solutions and innovative ideas when it comes to achieving the SDGs, because we don't want the ideas to remain purely as ideas. We want them to really be able to get off the ground. So at times, for notable projects, we'll supply seed grants or seed funding, or through mentorship or project development support as well. So we really abide by the 5 Ps of sustainable development, as you guys can see in the slide that's on the screen right now. Because we really believe in the interdisciplinary development. We know that tackling all of our different focus areas will really require the participation of everybody involved in the process. So in terms of focus areas, we do target 4, which we feel are of particular importance to the country. And these are anti-poverty, human rights or peace and justice, family planning and reproductive health, and climate action. So as I mentioned, we don't really key into just the specific SDG that targets that issue. So for example, it's not like we just focus on SDG 13 for climate action, because we recognize that issues of climate or issues of sustainable consumption in general cover a lot of different issues within the sustainable development spectrum. So what we really want is to champion the Philippines where nobody's left behind, especially and including young people. So in a nutshell, that's our organization. And SDSN Youth Philippines in particular, we're very proud to say that we're one of the more seasoned and one of the oldest SDSN youth networks around the world. So we're very proud of the work that we've done in the sort of less than 5 years that we've been around. So there, that's us.
Thank you, Rihanna. So that's basically not in a nutshell what SDGs are. You heard about the pillars of sustainable development. Thank you, Rihanna, for the visual also. Yeah, these are the things that we're working on. But let's now hear from the 2030 Youth Force, Rex.
So, well, first of all, I think a lot of what the Youth Force does is similar to what the other organizations here are doing. But let me just try and package that into what we call the ACE approach: activate, collaborate, and educate. Where number one, very generally, we try to activate the youth in the sense that we try to get them engaged on the ground. One of our most popular and, well, I would say successful projects is Project Diab, which is where we are engaging with an indigenous community in Pampanga in a place called Sitio Haduan, where at first it started out as a renewable energy project where we brought some solar panels to the area to try and help give them some electricity, and it slowly evolved into something more. As the SDGs go, you start with one, then you start seeing different interconnections between each one. We also collaborate, which is in a sense that we try and partner with different institutions, different organizations that are trying to advocate, take action for the sustainable development goals. One thing that comes to mind right now is how we partnered with Congress almost a year ago, September last year, and we drafted and we lobbied for the SDG resolution in the House of Representatives, and that slowly evolved into the SDG bill right now, and now we have an SDG committee in Congress. We partnered with different people there, different people in Congress to get that thing going. And finally, we have Educate, where, like a lot of people here, we have webinars. Before the whole quarantine thing happened, we were having conferences, all these different summits where we gather a few hundred youth together. And I just like to point out there that one thing I've noticed in terms of the Educate part, not just in Youth Force, but also with other organizations, that I've noticed a trend where more and more people are getting involved in podcasting. And Youth Force has been involved in one of that too, in the Humans for SDGs podcast. Sort of like a spin-off of Humans for New York, if you guys are familiar with that, where we talk with different people who are taking action for sustainable development goals.
Okay, thank you so much everyone for sharing your strategies and approaches for the SDGs. Alam mo yung takeaway ko sa set of for this question, yung sinabi kanina na this is the perfect time to reimagine our strategies and approaches kasi we're not really sure if we're going back to the old normal or is this really the new normal that we are heading towards. So, ayun, maganda na ito yung mga ginagawa natin for the SDGs. So, as a youth organization, syempre, we are working with volunteers. Siyempre, 'di ba? Yun yung isa sa mga core ng ating mga organizations, how we are operating in our communities, etc. So, in this context of the pandemic, may mga challenges ba kayong kinakaharap sa pag-mobilize ng mga volunteers or mas madali ba dahil online na lang din ang engagement natin with them? Let's begin again with Sam. Sam, kamusta kayo sa 2030 project sa mga volunteers?
Actually, grabe. Ito yung pinakamahirap na area on managing your organization is really sustaining the volunteers. So kaya gusto namin magturo ng volunteer management kasi we do get a lot of questions how we are trying to sustain the organization through the volunteers. So I think one of the problems kasi there are different levels of commitment per volunteer. So it really leads to for the core, or let's say the head of the organization, to really look for ways to make sure that you can sustain the relationship or the working environment between the volunteers. So for this pandemic, for me, working online, kasi na-meet ko yung volunteers ko online recently for the online show that we did, parang I didn't really expect na we will be able to create or produce an online show kahit online lang kami nag-meet. So to be honest, for me, it's easier right now to manage the volunteers given the platform that we're just meeting online. But then medyo mahirap nung times na on-site, events, on the field. But I guess what you can do to really address the challenges of sustaining your volunteers is, number one, you have to check and of course get to know more about your volunteers. But very important na kilala mo sila kahit taga Visayas or taga Mindanao pa yan. Even if mas bata or mas matanda, you have to you have to get to know about your volunteers. And then second is to ensure that you're sharing the same goals or the same vision while you're in the organization. Kasi may instances na may mga volunteers, they're just doing it, but they don't really know what is the end goal of joining the organization. So you have to ensure that you are sharing the same goals and choose the right support method. So meron yan iba-iba, pwedeng by a group chat, by a Zoom call, let's say if you're during this situation, or even you can call them directly or one-on-one. So ayun, that's how we did it in 2030. And I'm really happy na for the 4 months, we were able to sustain a community of volunteers for one show lang naman na almost 30 volunteers producing that show. So
Wow.
per episode din yun. Ayun, thank you.
Galing, 30 volunteers for a show. Tayo, Eya, kailangan natin ng volunteers sa QuaranTalk. Kaming dalawa lang.
Ang hirap. And super helpful ng volunteers actually. Kasi per episode, they really help me produce each episode for our online show.
Right.
So,
Galing. Okay, sa AIESEC naman, Gika, kamusta yung pag-handle nyo ng volunteers? Especially kaka-start pa lang nung term ninyo. So, kamusta yung adjustment?
Siguro how do I start? Ang dami kasing pwedeng ipagkwento. But there was definitely a drastic shift to the work from home setup. So a lot of us, we are located in 12 different areas, but nabigla talaga kami that there's a huge dependence on communicating online. So parang, I don't know if napansin nyo, pero parang ever since we had to start working from home, mas lalong dumami talaga yung online meetings. I really have to over-communicate. There's no sense of working in an office anymore. You don't get to share your lunch breaks with your colleagues or with your co-workers. So ayun, there was that really drastic shift. And we had to do empathy mapping with our talent management department. So we really had to identify what motivates our members to work, what doesn't motivate them to work. So ayun, but we also had our hopeful moments in the organization. So last June, we actually pulled off our national conference, which pulled in over 224, if I'm not mistaken, members. So internally, members pa lang yun. So we wanted to test that idea and see how we can do it with externals naman. So that really gave us a sense of hope that we can actually pull off a virtual event. So ayun, that's how it's been for AIESEC so far.
Okay, for APYE naman, JJ, kamusta?
So I think yung pinaka like our biggest challenge is our graduates from APYE come from different regions around the globe. So mostly from the Asia Pacific region, but we have graduates from the Latin Americas, from Africa. So it's really hard for it was a challenge it was a challenge for us to reach out to our graduates, but thankfully, we still have our a very active alumni relations page where we constantly communicate with our graduates as well as newsletters and updates. And buti na lang is the best part of it is in APY kasi the relationships that we build inside this organization is very strong. So we still get to talk and engage with our empowered champions. And because of that, recently we've had different graduates who volunteered to start up fund sorry a fundraising initiative. So it's called Fundrise. And with that, we were able to help our different local community partners to give them at least a little bit of supplies and help during this pandemic. And syempre, we recently just finished our How Empowered Are You? So that's our quiz nights. We've had 2 quiz nights all assembled by our volunteers. So yeah, we've been very thankful because we still have so many volunteers and graduates who constantly connect with us and help us make APYA happen even if we're in this pandemic.
Okay, thank you, JJ. For SDSN naman, Rihanna, kamusta ang mga volunteers ninyo?
Well, in our case, we kind of operate normally in the old normal as a network or an organization built of organizations. So in the past, we really never had a problem with when it comes to volunteers. Because if we go to, let's say, any particular region within the country, most likely may mga kilala kami doon. So that helps our volunteer flow very much. But then, of course, now that we can't do that, we really had to make the adjustment to get all of our volunteer recruitment online. But thankfully, we've had a steady influx of volunteers ever since we started our mga online initiatives. Actually, at this point, I think we've already had more than 50 sort of come and go. So it's been really good for us to be able to engage with them in a different way. And something that was really important to us also in the org is to build that sense of community within the volunteers. In our past projects, our in-person projects, of course, that kind of comes naturally because you see each other, you get to work on the projects on the ground, so parang naturally it builds. So we were trying to come up with ways to create that same dynamic even in a digital setting or an online setting. So something that we prioritize is our committee kamustahans, where we have let's say sit down talks like this where we just chat about life, catch up, try to figure out how everybody's doing in the sense of in light of the pandemic. And we also have our internal SDSN game night, which our volunteers watching will all vouch for, because we really try to plan and make it as fun as possible just to be able to give people that something to look forward to, even with the pandemic. So the challenge of initially transitioning everything to online, it actually gave a lot of opportunities to build that rapport in a different way. So we're very thankful to all of our volunteers. Shout out to anyone who's watching, because I plugged this in our Hangouts chat right before we started. And they're really the lifeblood of our org. So we really try to give back to them as much as they give to us. So yeah.
Thank you, Rihanna. Brex, sa Youth Force, kamusta ang mga volunteers natin?
Okay, so well, when you mentioned volunteers, the first thing that came to mind was in the case of Youth Force, I think we have around 3,000 registered member advocates. So volunteers, 3,000. The real main challenge has been, how do you engage all of those different people? You know, you have people from all the way to the south of the Philippines, all the way to the north of the Philippines, distributed unevenly. And admittedly, a lot of them come from Luzon, from NCR. Many of the really active members are from NCR. So a challenge for me has really been, how do you get engagement across the different regions so that it's not NCR centric, and so that you have adequate reach and impact, that's more distributed. So that's been one challenge, but we're very thankful that during this quarantine time, we have been able to pull together what we call regional representatives, and also a pool of SDG ambassadors so that they can be the point persons for the regions. The SDG ambassadors can be the point persons or experts for their particular SDGs. So a lot of it really has been allocating, distributing the work, and trying to decentralize in a way. And I also want to point out that another challenge has been a lot of the unforeseen circumstances, a lot of the things that come with COVID, such as mental health. People do experience a lot of mental health problems. They'll just come, they'll just go. You might have one yourself, you just never know it. But I'm very, very happy to say that I've really observed, even with all these challenges, that young people right now, they do have that hunger. They have that desire to just go and make a change. So I'm very, very happy for that.
Thank you, Bex. Yeah.
Right. Yes, so thank you so much for all your sharings. Marami tayong mga nakitang common shared challenges. But of course, we saw how resilient most young people are, and when you build a community, and I think it's also on our shoulders, no, as leaders, to kind of steer the direction of the organization and make sure everyone is glued together. But let's now zero in maybe on what your experience was like, specifically on identifying specific issues that you would really target. So let's do a fast talk for everyone. Let's have this question. What do you think is the most pressing problem young people face today? So fast talk ito, just a quick maybe one-liner if you can do 1-3 words. Let's do a fast talk. Let's start with Sam.
Lack of awareness on how they can maximize their resources. Youth lacks awareness.
Okay. Lack of awareness. Next, let's have Zika.
For me, it would have to be the spread of misinformation because we're so dependent on virtual platforms.
Okay, so let's spread of misinformation. Thank you, JJ.
For me, it's lack of opportunities for the youth.
Lack of opportunities. Thank you. All right. Rihanna.
Yeah, JJ actually and I have the same answer. Lack of opportunities talaga. At a
Okay.
systemic level and otherwise. Yeah.
Rex.
I'd like to stress this word: genuine dialogue and inclusion. Genuine.
Genuine dialogue and inclusion. All right. So with that, no, thank you for your short answers. Now the question is, what are your thoughts? Any thoughts on how we could adjust this? And just to recap, you mentioned lack of awareness among the youth, the spread of misinformation, lack of opportunities, and lack of genuine dialogue. So those are 4 items. How do you think we could adjust these ones? Anyone who would want to start?
Sige, I can go ahead.
Yeah.
Mag-volunteer ako. Magpapakabigo ako dito. Sige. For me kasi, this is when media literacy is really important. And it's somehow covered naman sa SDGs. And another thing that I believe that we can do is we really have to have internal conversations with our volunteers, with our advocates, with our members, because these are the people that we trust. These are the people who we have the same values with. And just recently, AIESEC had a series of talks under its social awareness campaign. So we were able to invite external speakers. So ayun, it was a wake-up call that learning about the truth, about different truths, it never stops. So ayun.
Okay. Any other comments or insights from the group on how we could address these things?
Yeah, I can give one. So JJ and I have the same answer that we really do see a lack of opportunities for young people to lift themselves up and to learn more about their own capacity as well as their capability to contribute to the larger community. And I think that's kind of twofold. First of all, of course, there's a systemic problem when it comes to youth who are of a lower income bracket or out of school youth. Naturally, they're kind of set behind their peers who have certain privileges that put them ahead. in terms of opportunity. So that already makes it sort of an uneven race when it comes to those access to those opportunities. But I think also on another level, there's sort of like a mentality or a mindset problem where young people are often regarded as the future, or the people who are gonna inherit the earth once older generations pass on. And of course, that's objectively the truth. But I think in a way it holds people back from doing the things that they really believe in, because they think, oh, I'm too young, I don't have enough experience, I don't have the position to do these kinds of things that they feel is necessary. When in reality, you have, if given all of the resources that you have access to, there is always something that you can do to enact that change. So I think it's up to civil society organizations like us, like all of us here, to provide those opportunities to young people, and to let them know that you're never too young, you're never too inexperienced to do the things that you really believe in. So in SDSN, as I mentioned earlier in our short introduction, that's really something that we advocate for, in empowering these young people to work for a Philippines where there's nobody left behind, including themselves. So I think that would be a good way also to attack these kinds of issues.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Rihanna. Any other thoughts? That's a good quote there. No, we have to provide opportunities also for the youth to be able for them to also help themselves. Any other thoughts? Sam, Rex.
For me,
Yeah.
oh,
Sorry.
lady first, yeah.
Sam, go ahead.
Okay, so I think to add to the idea of creating more opportunities or platforms, let's create a community that empowers each other. This is something that I learned from Pepper Limpoco. If you've heard of her initiative of recreation, what they did is just to create a tool on how to make an impact. And they were able to generate 5,000 volunteers across the world. So parang dun, she was promoting how important it is to create a community to empower each other. Syempre from the idea of building opportunities, raising awareness. It's good that we create a community that empowers each other so that they can support, can learn from each other, and even mentor and collaborate in the future. So that's for me.
For me,
Thank you.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just give an example over here. I agree with many of the points Sam, Rihanna, Jika, about providing the opportunities. And I just like to point out the word relationship. We use that word a lot in work. And one of the ways really that we've been able to engage more people, we've been able to, like what Sam has said, create a community that empowers one another, is to dialogue, is to talk with other people. So just to plug it in, but it's also a very good example, I think, is that Youth Force has been conducting a series of dialogues, multi-sectoral dialogues, based on the SDG pillars. So people, planet, partnership, peace, I'm missing one, prosperity. So we're doing a bunch of these dialogues with different organizations, and we're trying to say, okay, what's the data now that there is COVID? How has COVID affected progress on the SDGs? So how do we act on that? How do we collaborate? Are there ways where we could leverage the strengths of each other, leverage the weaknesses of each other, or try to get over those weaknesses? And it's been a learning process. I'd also like to point out that sustainability, based on experience, sustainability takes a lot of time because it's also a culture thing. It's also a behavioral thing. We're trying to change behaviors. You're trying to change systems. So it takes a while, but I feel with patience, a lot of patience, we can get there.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay, so for our second to the last question, actually, kanina sa intro nyo pa lang, malinaw na rin naman kung bakit kayo nagsusupport sa Sustainable Development Goals. So I'll try to change that question. Medyo tricky rin to kasi even for me, hindi ko rin alam kung paano siya directly pwedeng masagot. The battle cry of the SDGs is leaving no one behind, right? Pero in this time of a pandemic, how is that even possible, especially for organizations like us na karamihan ang engagement natin ay online. So paano yung mga walang access online, especially hindi natin alam kung hanggang kailan to, paano tayo magre-reach out dun sa may pinakakailangan ng SDGs? Sige. May gusto na bang sumagot agad dun sa question na yun?
Ang hirap ng tanong ni Jules.
Papatulong din ako kasi hindi ko rin siya masagot kasi hindi
Tinanong kasi mahirap, Joke.
If I could start, just say a few things.
Correct.
I'd like to quote something from one of my favorite martial artists, and for me, the greatest of all time at mixed martial arts, George St. Pierre. He's a martial artist, and he's always saying that he hopes to become a perfect martial artist, but he knows that he can never be a perfect martial artist. It's something he aspires to do all the time. And I think it also rings true in terms of the SDGs, whether we like it or not, that it's very difficult really to not leave anyone behind in the business that we're in. There are many hurdles we have to go through. There are many secrets. There are many things happening on the margins that we may not necessarily have the capacity or the power to address. But I believe it's something worth striving for. It's something that is worth our attention, especially since, we're young people. We might be parents soon. We have another generation of young people who's coming up. And I think we do have that care and we do have that concern that it's just something that can keep egging us on. So that's just I hope I made sense.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, sinong may idea?
Yeah, I guess I can kind of bounce off of Rex's point. I do like the idea that, you don't have to do things perfectly. Taking that first step is always really important. And I think another important step in that is really just to continue to remain adaptable and creative and resourceful when it comes to those methods. So for example, this pandemic has presented all of us, I think I can speak for all of us when I say that, it's really presented us with really unprecedented challenges or adjustments that we have to make. So things that we might not have done in the past, let's say with our projects, with our different initiatives, we've had to do just as out of pure necessity. So I think in our case, and I think you guys would say the same, it's really just about constantly trying to leverage that inherent creativity and adaptability that young people have, to be able to continue providing those quality services and quality initiatives for sustainable development, even in the midst of all of these challenges. So just to give an example, that our org started during this quarantine, we recently launched, not recently, sorry, it launched in April, but it feels like time flies. In April, we launched the Interactive Philippine Dashboard on COVID-19, which really is a vehicle for youth-oriented knowledge management on the current pandemic. So what we wanted to do was to give young people access to information that they might not necessarily get from other sources, but we wanted to provide it in a way that was understandable and digestible for young people to be able to really process. Because there's kind of no point then in presenting all of this data, these complicated graphs and calculations, if you really can't process what it needs to you on an individual level. So that whole initiative really sprung out of an idea of pure creativity and pure necessity to adjust to the situation. And ever since then, our initiative has been recognized by other UN bodies. Some of the features of our platform have been used by the IATF in their meetings. So the amount or the distance that you can go with just being creative with your ideas can really take you really, really far. So we've been applying that to our other initiatives as well. For instance, we had a project lined up with DALG that was supposed to launch this year to teach sustainable development to the Sangguniang Kabataan officials all over the country. So it was supposed to be our biggest project yet because it was supposed to tackle all of the SDGs in all of the different regions of the country with the SKs. But of course, since we can't do that now, we really had to transition everything online and to make everything accessible to an audience that needs to sort of digest this information in an asynchronous way. So what we've done is we've utilized online educational platforms that allow you to take these modules on your own pace. So for example, even if you don't have the best data, the best internet at home, you can still capitalize on everything that you do have to be able to learn so that you're not left behind, even if you have these sort of setbacks in mind. So just having that resourcefulness will really take you a long way. And I do believe that as long as we continue to leverage that, we'll be able to provide those quality services even with everything going on.
Okay, thank you, Rihanna. The others? Yes, JJ.
Well, since Breck started with a quote, I think I should start with a quote too. I remember in one of my classes in political thought, my professor told me that you don't necessarily have to change the world, but you have to change your side of the world. And I'm saying this because I think a possible solution to this is we have to empower our local youth, and then our empowered local youth would be the ones to champion their own ways into their own local communities and sectors. Because it is, we all have to accept that every organization may have our own niche, our own weaknesses, but then we should also focus on our target markets. And then these target markets, we as youth leaders should know how to maximize, optimize, and utilize these young people so that they may be able to share the knowledge that they will receive from us into their own communities. Like in APYE, we always tell them and we trust them na throughout the APYE experience, in the end, you would have an open heart, open mind, and an open will. And we hope that in APYE, after you graduate from our program, you would take these values with you into your own community and then start change from there.
Thank you, JJ. Jika or Sam?
Sige, I'll go ahead. Ay,
Yeah.
sige. You want to go ahead, Sam, or do you want me to go ahead?
Sige, ikaw na muna. Ako naman huli.
Okay. Grabe na pressure ako kasi I'm last. Baka we might think that the best for last. I'll keep my answer really short. I think it's really important to have conversations like these. Like we all come from different organizations. We all have different methods. But with a space like this, we are definitely amplifying each other's voice. Like it's not a competition kasi. Like I think COVID really made everything a level playing field because everything is virtual now. So it's a matter really of looking for like-minded organizations, looking for strategic alliances that pretty much have the same core. So hindi tayo dapat, it's not a competition na, okay, pagalingan ng org or pagalingan ng execution. But if we're able to create impact, then that's what matters. So, ayun, short and simple.
Okay, Sam.
All right. So I actually agree with what JK said. By the way, say hi for me for Eka and Nelly. Guest ko sila last week. So yeah. So I really enjoyed the conversation with them last week. So for me, we will be able to overcome naman. Actually, with the question of Jules, mahirap, no? Talaga. Meron talagang mahirap sagutin yung no one is left behind. Kasi we only have this certain capacities to really help the community. And that's what we're doing. But for me, we will be able to overcome naman the virus, but somehow we must learn how to coexist with the virus. So hopefully next year, wala na talaga. And then since right now, talagang ang option natin, our only option is really to empower online. And we're doing it right now. Diba? You gathered, kahit naman kami as the SDG organizations, we gathered us in one platform. Really thankful. I'm having a good time right now. And then, only option is to really empower online. And so let's maybe maximize this universal opportunity to educate and develop SDG advocates and somehow remind them that after pandemic, let's try to go to the communities and really create a community there and empower them with the specific SDGs that we advocate. So yun. So coexist with the virus. Kaya natin yan.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so ang daming insights and thank you so much for sharing your organization's knowledge with us. We also want to support your initiatives. So before we let you go, please feel free to plug your initiatives, your campaigns, your online programs, campaigns, or maybe how can people join your movement. So let's start with Jika naman. Jika, go ahead.
Well, I technically mentioned naman, but I want to focus on our upcoming Youth Speak Forum. So the timeline is still being determined, but we're definitely going to also focus on promoting the SDGs as well. So please stay in tune for that. I'll keep it short and simple. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. JJ for APYE.
Yeah. So I invite everyone to please, you may visit our website at www.apyemanila.org. You can visit our Facebook page, Asia Pacific Youth Exchange Philippines, and there you would see our different updates, especially from our fundraising initiative. And on Instagram, we're also there. So it's apye.phl. So you may follow us or like our different pages so that you would be updated. And hopefully, diba, after all of this, maybe we could meet again for the 10th iteration of APYE Philippines. Thank you.
You.
Thank you, JJ. Let's have Rihanna for SDSN News.
Okay, so before I plug, just want to greet my teammates who are probably watching right now. So, hi, Sir Xavier, Sir Julio, Coco, Stephen, our interns, our volunteers. Hi, guys. Because I promised them I would shout them out. But yeah, so you can find us on our Facebook page at SDSN Youth PH, and then at SDSN Youth PHL on Twitter and Instagram if you'd like to get a hold of what we're doing right now. I'd also encourage everybody to visit our COVID platform that I mentioned earlier at covid19.sdsnyouthph.org. If you want to keep updated with the latest things that are happening with regards to the pandemic in our country, we update that on a daily basis. So it's a good resource if ever you're having trouble finding the information that you want to find about the pandemic. And as for other initiatives coming up soon, we'll be launching our SK Ako program sometime this year in partnership with the DALG and the National Youth Commission. So just stay tuned on our social media for that. There's a lot of exciting things coming with that as well.
Thank you, Rihanna.
Yeah. Brex, go ahead.
Well, first of all, since Rihanna gave a shout out, I'd just like to give a quick shout out to my deputy director, Sabrina Carlos. It's her birthday today. So, Sab,
Happy
thank you so
birthday.
much for all the help. This has been really great. Happy birthday. I didn't bother you today since it's your birthday, so I hope you appreciate that, but I'll be bothering you tomorrow. Okay, so just to plug in 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines, please find us on Facebook. So those are the numbers 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines Incorporated. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. One thing that is coming up in a couple of days is the result of our photography contest for International Youth Day. Please check that out. We're going to be posting photographs from our members who are trying to encapsulate what sustainability means to them. So that should be interesting. Another thing is in October, we are having our 3rd annual SDG Bayanihan Summit. It's going to be a hackathon. We're going to get people together, different organizations, different people, to try and ideate, hack a state, I don't know the word for it, for building back better post-COVID. So that should be interesting. And last thing, please do listen to our Humans for SDGs podcast. It's on Spotify, it's on Anchor, it's on Apple, and anywhere that you find your podcasts.
Thank you, Rex. Okay, of course, Sam from 2030 Project.
All right. Thank you so much, Jules and Aya. So again, shout out again to my team, the 2030 Project, and of course, the After Hours Online team. Really thankful for you guys. But then, so this year is the 5th anniversary of the 2030 Project. Yun lang, pandemic, but it's fine. But so help us and join, celebrate with us as we do the recap of After Hours Online. It's the online show that we've been doing for each SDGs. And then also on the launch of our Gold Diggers, which is an online platform as well that was born from the love for passion in leadership and community building. So technically, Gold Diggers will really help our youth to know how to do project management, volunteer management, fund generation, and all the basics on how to create your own organization. And always remember that it's better, or in the 2030 Project, we always believe that chasing our personal aspirations and even our visions for the community is better when we include the 17 SDGs. So thank you so much, Aya and Jules, for inviting us, and we had a great time.
Thank you so much. Bago kayo umalis, i-flash lang natin yung mga comments. Baka yung mga friends nyo nandito. Okay, check nyo lang sa screen ngayon. Si Jika pa
Sorry.
nga pala. Jika.
Sorry,
Sorry,
go ahead.
Magalit tayo si
Okay lang. May pahabol lang po ako. Sige. I hope you guys also like the 2040 project. Please also don't forget to support our page. It's on facebook.com/AIESEC PH, so you can learn more about our initiatives there. We're also having membership recruitment soon enough. I also want to do a shout out for the amazing marketing team. So that's Claude, Seven, and Marty, Ken, Nina, and Kyra. And I also want to give a shout out to the recent national EV. No, wait, tama. Anyways, sige. Hi, MC Dimata, and hi, MC Padayon. So I hope you guys are watching. That's it for me. Thank you so much, Aya and Jules.
Thank you, Jika from AIESEC. Okay, quick lang to. I-flash lang natin yung mga comments ng mga friends ninyo. Okay, we have from Inda. We have Eka.
Hi.
We have Raya. Xavier, SDSN.
Yeah.
CBT Lee.
That's Claude. Hi, Claude.
Yeah. It's Claudia.
It's Jana.
Susanna,
Yeah.
APY.
Okay, Aaron. Si JJ, supporter ni JJ. Si Aaron. Si Jean for Rihanna. Si Jean ulit. Si Julio for Rihanna.
Very popular.
Ito super sweet ito. Miss Ana Sara Punzalan. Your mom.
Hi, mother.
Okay, we have Cara Eduarte. Angelica Taro.
Hi, Cara.
Hello. Sam. Hi, Sam. Sabi ni Janina.
Hi, ate.
Maika. Kay Brex. Crystal for APYE. We have Julio again. Ano pa to? Ayan, nag-agree sila sa mga sinasabi nyo. And si Jasmine and
Hi, Jasmine.
Crystal
One of
again.
our interns.
Oh, I see. Okay, guys, ayan. So maraming salamat on behalf of QuaranTalk Media. Thank you so much for doing this. And I hope this isn't the last. Baka pwede pa tayo mag-collaborate soon. We have our platform here. And yeah, let's think about it kung paano pa tayo mag-collaborate in the future for the SDGs or for whatever. Online party, whatever.
While we're here and while your friends are watching, let us remember that September we have the Global Week of Action coming up. In October, we're celebrating the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, and we're highlighting also some youth initiatives for the SDGs. So thank you again, AIESEC, APYE, 2030 Project, 2030 Youth Cars, and SDSN Youth for joining us tonight. Maraming salamat. And more power.
Thank you. Actually, bago namin kayo pakawalan, I think relevant din tong next segment namin sa inyo. So wag muna kayo aalis. Very quick lang to. Okay, in every segment, we also feature the different ambags of several organizations. Dito lamang yan sa Ano ang Ambag Mo. Okay, Aya, ano bang ambag natin for tonight?
Right. On August 13th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, UP CIFAL presents the future of tourism in the time of COVID-19. So this will be an online discussion to explore possible solutions towards the responsible recovery and sustainability of the tourism industry. So the speakers there, the Tourism Secretary Bernadette Ramulupuyat, members of the academe, the industry, and global leaders on tourism. So you may register through the link bit.ly/tourism or visit the Facebook page of CIFAL Philippines. So again, that's on August 13, 2 p.m. The future of tourism in the time of COVID-19. So yan, just a backgrounder dito kasi sa, madalas tayong tinatanong, so ano ang ambag mo? You know, on social media, Jules and other naysayers are saying, anong ambag mo? So we use that here on QuaranTalk to feature the different initiatives and call to action for our viewers also. So that's it. If you
Right.
have projects in the future, feel free to let us know and we can plug it also.
Okay, so that ends our discussion for tonight. On Wednesday, it's International Youth Day. We are inviting all the national chapters of the 2030 Youth Force in the Asia Pacific. So we have 8 countries who will guest on Wednesday. So if you're interested to know them, then baka you could watch. And we're launching a new show in partnership with Now You Know, 7 p.m. So we'll be posting more details about that tomorrow and on Wednesday. Aya?
And while you're still here, guys, let us just plug and maybe close this show with you already. On Tuesday, we have the main agenda with Main Darunia. We'll talk about the youth and education this week. That's also 9 p.m. On Thursday, we have Throwback Kasaysayan with UP History Professor Gio Guiang. And Thursday night, we have a virtual inuman with Thais and Rocky. Ang topic nila ay budget. So, COVID-19 budget. Kasama si Ken Abante of the Citizens Budget Tracker. And I lead. And on Friday, it's QuaranTalk again. We're going to feature Pepper Limpoco, who Sam mentioned, sorry, not Pepper herself, but her team working on the Make Sense COVID-19 response and the other initiatives of young people in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So again, thank you everyone for joining us, and we are rooting for every young Filipino out there. Kaya natin to. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good night. Jules.
Yes, again, isa pa.
Okay, so kita-kita tayo ulit dito sa daldalang walang curfew.
Habang hindi nala-lockdown, ito po ang QuaranTalk.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Have a great